1893 Appalachian Mountains. The dreadful secret of the house on Preacher's Hill. Before we dive into today's chilling tale, take a moment to connect with me and our community in the comments below. Where are you listening from right now? And what time is it there? Drop your city, hollow, or ridge. Whether it's the misty Appalachians, a cozy cabin in the backwoods, or somewhere far beyond, also hit that subscribe button so you never miss a notification for our next shadowy story. Now, let's begin. Ladies and gentlemen, gather around this flickering lantern light as I take you back to the shadowed hollows of the Appalachian Mountains in the autumn of 1893. My name is Dr. Elias Hawthorne, and I've spent decades piecing together the forgotten chronicles of these rugged lands, where the mist clings to the ridges like a lover's desperate grasp, and the wind carries whispers that no man dares repeat. Tonight, we begin our journey into one of the darkest tales from West Virginia's backcountry. The awful secret of the house on Preacher's Hill. Picture the scene, if you will. The year is 1893, and the leaves on the sugar maples blaze crimson and gold. But there's a chill in the air that seeps into the bones, heralding the long winter ahead. The town of Hollow Creek, a cluster of weathered, clapboard cabins huddled around a muddy crossroads, has known hard times. The coal mines have played out, leaving men with black lungs and empty pockets. Folks scrape by on corn liquor and tall tales, their Sundays filled with fervent hymns in the white, steepled church that serves as both sanctuary and gossip hall. It was on a drizzling Thursday in late October that Elias Thorne arrived, not the kind of stranger who rides in on horseback with a silver tongue and a carpetbag full of promises. No, Thorne was 28, lean as a whipcord, with sharp blue eyes that seemed to measure every soul he passed. He stepped down from the rattling stagecoach, his single trunk thudding into the muck, dressed in a city suit that hung loose on his frame, wool from Philadelphia by the look of it, ill-suited for the mountain damp. Old man Jeb Whittaker, the innkeeper with a face like carved oak and a limp from a cave in years back, eyed him warily from the porch of the Hollow Creek Inn. "Evening, stranger," Jeb drawled, spitting a stream of tobacco juice into the dirt. "What brings a fine gent like you to our neck of the woods?" Thorne straightened, wiping rain from his spectacles. "Good evening, sir. My name is Elias Thorne. I'm a schoolmaster from Pittsburgh, sent by the Presbyterian Board of Education to establish a proper learning house here in Hollow Creek. These mountains need light in the darkness, books, knowledge, a future for the young ones." Jeb chuckled, a low rumble like distant thunder. "Schoolmaster, eh? Mighty noble. But you best watch that tongue about darkness hereabouts. We got our own light up on Preacher's Hill." He jerked a gnarled thumb toward the looming ridge to the east, where a skeletal silhouette pierced the fog. The abandoned house, its windows like empty eye sockets staring down at the valley. Thorne followed his gaze, feeling an inexplicable shiver despite the day's warmth fading into evening. Preacher's Hill. I've heard the name in passing. Some old parsonage, isn't it? Jeb replied, his voice dropping. Reverend Caleb Raines built it 40 years back. Preach fire and brimstone like no other. Him and his wife Eliza and their boy little Samuel. One night in '53, the whole family gone. No bodies, no blood. Just the wind chimes tolling come midnight. Folks say the hill's cursed. Best you steer clear, schoolmaster. Stick to teaching sums and letters down here in the holler. Thorne nodded politely, but his mind was already alight with curiosity. That night, as he lay on the straw mattress in Jeb's inn, the rain pattered relentlessly on the tin roof. Sleep evaded him. Through the thin walls, he heard the murmur of voices. The widow Harrove telling her daughter, Mary, about the singing from the hill, How the preacher's bell would ring on still nights, calling the faithful who never answered. Mary, a girl of 19 with auburn hair and freckles like scattered embers, shushed her mother.
Hush!
It's just the wind playing tricks. Mister, Thorne's here to bring proper learning, not ghost stories. But Thorne heard every word, and by dawn, resolve hardened in him. He wouldn't cower from superstition. Hollow Creek needed a school, and that forsaken house on the hill. It would serve perfectly roomy, elevated, with a view to inspire young minds. After breakfast of corn pone and weak coffee, he marched to the town elders. Mayor Harlan Graves, a pot-bellied merchant with a handlebar mustache, and preacher Amos Tate, the current shepherd of the flock, whose sermons were mild compared to Raines's thunder. Gentlemen, Thorne declared in the mayor's general store, surrounded by bolts of calico and sacks of flour, I've inspected the lay of the land. Preacher's Hill House is structurally sound, a fine building for a schoolroom. With your permission, I'll claim it for the children of Hollow Creek. Graves stroked his mustache, exchanging a glance with Tate. The air grew thick, scented with pipe smoke and the faint rot of damp earth tracked in from outside. Son, Graves said slowly, that place ain't been touched since Raines vanished. Roof leaks in places, but that's not the worst. The hill, it don't like newcomers poking around. Tate nodded gravely, his Bible clutched like a shield. Reverend Raines was a holy man, Mr. Thorne, but touched by something fierce. His preaching turned wild in the end. Talk of purging sin with blood offerings, calling down the Lord with chants that twisted the tongue. The night they disappeared, lightning split the sky without rain, and folks swear they heard laughter echoing from the woods. Thorne leaned forward, undeterred. Superstition, Reverend. Science and scripture both teach us to confront the unknown. I'll take responsibility. Sign the papers, and by week's end, that house will echo with the laughter of children, not ghosts. Reluctantly, they agreed, more out of desperation for any progress than belief. As Thorne departed, a gust whipped down from the hill, carrying the faint metallic tang of ozone, as if a storm brewed unseen. The townsfolk watched from doorways, murmuring. Mary Harrove, helping in her mother's garden, felt a pull toward the stranger, his city ways promising escape from the hollow's monotony. Little did she know her path would soon intertwine with his. By midday, Thorne trudged up the overgrown trail to Preacher's Hill, his boots sinking into leaf mold thick as a quilt. The house loomed larger now. 2 stories of clapboard grayed by time, a sagging porch wrapped around it like a widow's shawl. Ivy choked the stone foundation, and the steeple, once proud, tilted like a drunkard's hat. He pushed open the creaking door, hinges screaming in protest. Dust motes danced in the shaft of gray light from cracked panes. The parlor was frozen in time, a rocking chair overturned. Family portraits askew on the walls. Caleb Raines stern in black frock coat. Eliza pale and pious beside him, young Samuel with eyes too knowing for a boy of 10. Thorne's fingers brushed a side table, disturbing a layer of grime that revealed a leather-bound book, its cover embossed with a simple cross. He opened it, a Bible, but the pages were filled with frantic handwriting, ink smeared as if by tears or blood. September 17, 1853. It began. The voice came again last night, clear as mountain spring. It demands purity. The flock must be cleansed before the great reckoning. A chill wind rattled the windows, though the day was still. From upstairs, faint, so faint he doubted his ears, came the toll of a bell. Thorne froze, heart pounding. It rang once, twice, then silence. That evening, back at the inn, he said nothing of it. But sleep brought dreams, a congregation swaying in candlelight, chanting words that clawed at his mind. And at the pulpit, Rains's face melting into shadow, beckoning him forward. And so begins the unraveling, my friends. What secrets does Preacher's Hill hold? Join me next time for Chapter 2. The Midnight Chimes, where Elias Thorne dares to spend his first night in the house. And here's what no living man should. Subscribe, like, and tell me in the comments, would you spend a night on Preacher's Hill? Welcome back, friends, to the fog-shrouded hollows of Hollow Creek, where the autumn of 1893 deepened into a season of restless nights. Dr. Elias Hawthorne here, your guide through the archives of forgotten terror. Last time, Elias Thorne claimed the cursed house on Preacher's Hill for his schoolhouse dream, ignoring the townsfolk's warnings and brushing off the faint toll of a bell within its walls. But tonight, in Chapter 2, The Midnight Chimes, curiosity turns to confrontation as Thorne spends his first full night under that sagging roof, and the hill begins to whisper back. By the second day, Thorne had rolled up his sleeves. He enlisted a few able-bodied locals, young Tom Carver, a wiry coal miner's son with calloused hands and a skeptical grin, and Mary Harrove, whose sharp wit and steady nerve made her the only woman willing to climb the trail. They hauled in desks scavenged from the church attic, scrubbed floors until splinters drew blood, and nailed new shingles where the roof gaped like an open wound. The air inside was thick with mildew and something sharper, like burnt sage from long-ago rituals. As dusk fell, painting the ridges in bruised purples, Thorne lit lanterns and surveyed his progress. "We'll have 30 pupils by month's end," he told Mary, who was stacking primers near the cold hearth. Her auburn curls escaped her bonnet, and she met his gaze with a mix of admiration and caution. "You're brave, Mr. Thorne, or foolish." Pa said Reverend Rains used this parlor for baptisms, dunked folks in a tub right there till the water ran red one Sunday. Thorne laughed it off, but uneased gnawed at him. Tom, wiping sweat from his brow, added gruffly, "Heard it again last night up in the belfry. That bell. Ain't no wind makes it ring 12 times exact." They finished as stars pricked the sky, and the workers departed, leaving Thorne alone with a cot, a pile of books, and resolve hardened like iron. Midnight crept in on velvet paws. Thorne lay reading by candlelight, McGuffey's Reader, to prepare lessons, when the house settled with a groan. Then, precise as a clockmaker's art, the bell tolled, dong dong, 11 peals, then silence. He bolted upright, pulse racing. Grabbing the lantern, he climbed the creaking stairs to the belfry, boots thudding on warped trees. The rope hung limp, frayed and dusted with pigeon droppings. No breeze stirred the air. Yet at the 12th stroke, the bell swung, slow, deliberate, filling the night with its mournful bronze voice. Below in the valley, lights flickered on in cabins. Old Jeb Whittaker crossed himself, muttering prayers. Mary, awake in her loft, clutched her quilt, whispering, "He's calling again." Thorne yanked the rope, desperate to silence it, but it swung of its own accord, the clapper striking with force that numbed his palms. Then, as abruptly as it began, it stopped. In the sudden quiet, he heard singing, faint hymns drifting from the woods, words mangled by distance. "Cleanse us with fire, O Lord, in the blood of the pure." By morning, Thorne found himself pale and unshaven, hammering a padlock on the belfry door. At breakfast, Mayor Graves cornered him in the inn's parlor, pipe smoke curling like accusing fingers. "Told you, son. Rains's flock didn't die. They changed." Preacher found a verse in Revelation no Bible holds about a reckoning needing sacrifice. That bell calls the old members home. Thorne waved it away as acoustics and imagination, but doubt had taken root. That afternoon, while prying up floorboards for rats, Thorne uncovered a hidden compartment beneath the parlor rug. Inside lay a tin box yellowed sermons, a vial of dark residue, blood, and a crude map etched on birch bark, marking caves beneath the hill as the purification chamber. As he studied it, Mary arrived with fresh bread, her eyes wide. Found something. He showed her, and for the first time, fear cracked her composure. Samuel Raines drew that, the boy who vanished. Folks say he never aged in their dreams. Night fell again. Thorn barred the doors, but the chimes returned, louder, insistent. This time, shadows danced in the corners, forming silhouettes of congregants swaying in trance. He fled downstairs, only to find the Bible from the side table open on his cot, pages flipping in a draft from nowhere. Stopping at a passage in Raines's hand. The teacher comes. He will preach in my stead. The hollows grow restless, dear listeners, as Elias Thorne's defiance stirs the slumbering evil of Preacher's Hill. The line between past and present blurs, pulling the schoolmaster and those who aid him into a web of ritual and revelation. What began as chimes escalates to visitations, testing Thorne's rationality against the mountain's ancient hunger. Word spread like wildfire through Hollow Creek. By week's end, children peeked from behind skirts, refusing the trail to the new school. Thorne pressed on, teaching a handful of brave pupils. Mary's younger brother Billy among them. Basic ciphers by day. But nights were torment. The singing grew clearer, voices joining the bell. Men, women, children. Their harmony off-key, laced with gasps and moans. One fog-choked evening, Tom Carver returned to help reinforce the porch. Over cornbread and cider, he confessed, saw him last full moon. Shapes in the mist climbing the hill. Wore white robes, faces hidden. Pi said Rhines started a sect. Purity brethren, swearing off sin with fasts and floggings. Then the disappearances. Travelers, sinners, even good folk who questioned him. Thorne showed him the tin box. Tom blanched at the map. Them caves lead to the old mine shafts. Collapsed in 51, but something lives there still. Mary joined them, her presence a quiet anchor. She'd begun dreaming of the preacher, his eyes burning like coals, preaching to her directly. It spreads, Mr. Thorne. I'm humming those hymns now. Don't even know it. As they talked, a knock rattled the door. Outside stood Preacher Tate, Bible in hand, flanked by townsfolk with torches. We've come to cleanse it, son. Burn the sin out. Thorne barred them, shouting of progress and education. They retreated, but their chants echoed up the hill. That night, the first visitor arrived. Thorne awoke to footsteps on the stairs, slow, shuffling. Lantern raised, he found Widow Harove, Mary's mother, standing in the parlor, eyes glassy, murmuring. The voice calls the flock. She held a knife from her kitchen, wrist bleeding in ritual cuts. Must purify before the teacher preaches. Mary burst in moments later, having followed her mother's trail. Together they restrained her, binding wounds with strips from Thorne's shirt. As dawn broke, the widow awoke confused with no memory, but the cuts remained. Thorne delved deeper into Raines's Bible. Entries chronicled a voice from the deep during a cholera scare in 1852. Not God, but something mimicking scripture, demanding blood to avert plague. The flock grew. Rituals escalated self-flagellation, then offerings of livestock, then strangers. Samuel the boy was first to ascend, vanishing after a ceremony. Eliza followed. Caleb's final entry, I resist no more. The hill claims all. Tom returned at noon, face ashen. Found this in the woods. A child's shoe. Samuel's by the stitching. Nearby, a circle of stones stained dark. They descended into the marked cave mouth. Air turned faded, walls etched with inverted crosses. Echoes mocked them, their names whispered. A gust extinguished the lantern, and hands, cold, insistent, gripped their arms. They fled, gasping. Mary confronted Thorne. You've awakened it. We must leave. but he refused, vowing to expose the madness. That night, the flock gathered outside. A dozen townsfolk, eyes vacant, robes improvised from bed sheets. They sang, the bell tolling in rhythm. Thorn and Mary watched from the attic as figures climbed, vanishing into mist. Among them, Billy, her brother. Deep beneath Preacher's Hill, the truth uncoils like a serpent in the dark. Chapter 4. The Purification Chamber thrusts Elias Thorn into the heart of the cult's legacy, where alliances fracture and sacrifices demand payment. The flock swells, the voice grows bolder, and escape narrows to a razor's edge. Dawn brought no relief. Billy was gone. Lured by the singing, Mary wept. Thorn armed them with lanterns, ropes, the map. Tom joined, shotgun loaded with rock salt, for spirits or madmen. They rallied Mayor Graves, who confessed his own visions. Rains hadn't vanished. He'd led followers into the caves for a final baptism. Graves handed over town records, dozens missing since of '53, blamed on landslides. The cave mouth yawned like a grave. Inside, the air hummed, walls slick with moisture, etched prayers descending into madness. Blood for the bell, flesh for the voice. Their lanterns cast jittery shadows. Voices echoed ahead, chanting. They pressed on, finding a chamber vast as a cathedral, lit by phosphorescent fungi. At center, a pool black as ink, ringed by altars of humped stone. Bones littered the floor, human, fresh and old. Robbed figures knelt, swaying. Townsfolk, including Billy, eyes rolled back. The voice boomed, not from mouths but stone. The teacher comes. Preach or join the purified. Thorn froze as visions assaulted him, reins at the pulpit, flaying his own skin to reveal something writhing beneath. Eliza birthing shadows, Samuel unchanged, grinning. Mary screamed as hands pulled Billy toward the pool. Tom fired, scattering robed figures. Flesh and blood, yet moving wrong. Chaos erupted. Struggles, splashes, cries. Thorn grabbed Billy, but the boy fought him mad. A figure lunged. Preacher Tate, knife raised. You profane the reckoning? Thorn parried, shoving him into the pool. Ripples revealed shapes below, not bodies, but eyes watching. They fled upward, Billy limp in Mary's arms, purging the trance with slaps and prayers. Emerging, Hollow Creek burned. Torches from the mob now turned inward. Jeb Whittaker waved them to his root cellar. It's taken half the town. Graves is leading them now. Inside, plans formed. Thorn deciphered the Bible's end, a ritual to silence the voice. Burn the bell, drown the altar in salt. But Mary faltered, eyes glazing. It calls me too. Thorn confessed his fear the dreams weren't his, but Raines's memories implanting. Tom nodded grimly. We end it tonight. Faithful listeners, as the first pale light of November 1st, 1893, crept over the jagged ridges of the Appalachian Mountains, Hollow Creek teetered on the brink of oblivion. Dr. Elias Hawthorne here, drawing from yellowed journals, survivor testimonies, and the scarred earth itself to recount Chapter 5. The Reckoning Bell. Elias Thorne, Mary Harrove, Tom Carver, and young Billy have glimpsed the purification chamber's horrors, but the true unraveling awaits. The flock is complete, the voice insatiable, and the hill demands its final sermon. What price for silencing an ancient hunger? The group huddled in Jeb Whittaker's root cellar as dawn broke, the air thick with the earthy tang of potatoes and gunpowder. Smoke from burning cabins curled through cracks in the floorboards, while distant chants rose like a tide. The Purity Brethren now swelled to near half the town, their white robes stained with mud and blood. Mayor Harlan Graves led them, his once jovial face carved with ritual scars, eyes vacant as he bellowed, "The teacher preaches tonight, or the reckoning claims all." Thorn pored over Raines's Bible by lantern light, fingers trembling. The final pages, written in a hand that devolved into scrawls, detailed the banishment rite. As the bell birthed the voice from the deep, so must it die in salt and flame. Drown the altar in purity's tears, or join the choir eternal. Salt sacks from the general store, kerosene from the lanterns, and Billy's innocent faith. Tears enough, perhaps. Mary bound her brother's wounds from the cave scuffle, her voice steady despite the fear etching lines around her eyes. We end this, Elias. For Ma, for the hollow. Tom Carver chambered shells, his miner's grit unyielding. Jeb's watchin' the back trail. If we fail, he blasts the path out. Old Jeb nodded from the shadows, shotgun cradled like a babe, his limp forgotten in the adrenaline. They slipped out as mist burned off, skirting the smoldering crossroads. The trail to Preacher's Hill wound steep, leaves slick underfoot, every snap of twig echoing like judgment. Whispers pursued them, names called in loved ones' voices, Mary, Billy, come sing. The house had changed. No longer abandoned decay. Its clapboard pulsed faintly, veins of shadow threading the wood like roots seeking light. The front door hung ajar. The parlor was transformed into a makeshift chapel. Pews manifested from nowhere rough, hewn from hill timber, arranged in a semicircle around a pulpit of blackened oak that throbbed as if alive. Candles guttered in rusted holders, wax pooled like blood, and there at the pulpit stood Reverend Caleb Rains, or what remained. He was a husky skin stretched taut over bones, frock coat shredded, milky eyes rolling independently like a serpent's, but alive impossibly after 40 years. Welcome, teacher, he rasped, voice a chorus of gravel and wind. The voice waited for you. It burrowed in me during the cholera winter of 1852. Not plague, but herald. I drilled too deep in the mines, woke it from stone slumber. A thing older than scripture, feeding on belief, turning to dread. It built our flock, consumed us to grow. Now preach with me and rule the purified. Visions crashed over thorn like a rockslide rains in the mines, pickaxe striking a vein that wept black ore, Eliza's belly swelling, not with child, but wreathing darkness. Samuel the boy, first sacrifice, his small frame splitting to birth shadow imps that lured more souls. The flock had never died. They descended. Bodies dissolved into the voices mass beneath the pool, minds bound eternally in song. Hollow Creek's missing weren't lost to landslides. They joined the choir. Mary screamed as robed arms erupted from the floorboards, townsfolk bursting through like roots, seizing her and Billy. Tom fired, rock salt shredding robes and flesh alike, revealing glimpses of pallid, elongated limbs beneath human guise. Jeb charged in, blasting a path, but a knife flashed, Graves's own, sigil carved, gutting the old man mid-stride. Jeb crumpled, gurgling, "Finish it." Thorne grabbed the Bible, hurling it open at the pulpit as a shield. Pages ignited spontaneously, but the words glowed. Reversed hymns searing the air. Up the belfry stairs they fled, Rains's laughter pursuing. A wet, bubbling cacophony. The bell hung swollen, metal veined with pulsing rot, hot to the touch. Thorne doused it with kerosene, the liquid hissing on contact. Below, the flock surged. Graves climbing the steeple with unnatural agility, chest flayed open to expose ribs that clicked like castanets. "Burn it," Tom roared, striking flint. Flames erupted, the bell cracking with a shriek that split eardrums. Not metal, but a chorus of trapped souls wailing release. The house convulsed. Walls wept crimson, floorboards buckling as roots. Living tendrils of the voice lashed out. Mary thrashed in trance, hymns spilling from her lips, but Billy slapped her awake. "Sis, remember Pie's stories? Light beats dark." Tom dragged them down, shotgun emptying into the pulpit, which split to reveal a maw of teeth and eyes. Thorne snatched the map, leading to the cave mouth behind the house. Now a yawning fissure. Into the purification chamber they plunged, lanterns flickering in faded gales. The pool boiled, surface alive with faces pressing upward. Eliza's serene smile, Samuel's eternal boy, grin, dozens more. The voice coalesced into a towering silhouette of smoke and bone, tendrils whipping. You cannot silence the mountain's song. Thorn appended salt sacks into the pool, reciting the rite. Be tear and flame, by blood unbound. Return to stone whence you were found. Ripples exploded into geysers. Forms rose, amalgamations of flesh and shadow clawing. Graves lunged from behind, knife plunging into Tom's back. The miner fell, roaring, dragging the mayor into the depths. Mary shielded Billy as Thorn hurled the Bible's ashes into the heart. The voice wailed, cave walls fracturing, rocks tumbling in biblical cascade. Thorn shoved Mary and Billy clear as the pool collapsed, sucking the entity back. A vortex of screams fading to echo. They staggered out to rubble. The house slumped into a crater, bell shards steaming. Hollow Creek survivors stirred from trance. Wounds real, memories fragmented. Whispers of dreams, not truths. Thorn, ribs cracked. Face scarred by embers, lingered for weeks, aiding rebuilding. Mary chose him. Their bond forged in fire. They wed in the rebuilt church, Billy their ward. But on still nights, Thorn heard faint tolls in the wind, and in mirrors glimpsed milky eyes behind his own. Hollow Creek endured, a school founded in a new valley building. Yet old-timers avoided Preacher's Hill, overgrown and silent. The archives end here. No bodies found, no madness recorded. But the mountains keep secrets deeper than minds.